Hi, good evening and welcome to the City of Sharonville's council meeting. We come to you via Zoom again this evening. If everyone would please just stay seated and put your hands over your heart. Dave Cook is going to lead us in prayer and he will then have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Cook?
Thank you. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Compassionate and loving Father, in the face of confusion and concern, impart to us the calm of your presence. In you, allow us to find hope and healing. Be with those who serve the sick and give them your caring hands. Be with those who lead and give them your spirit of wisdom. Be with those who have fallen ill and give them your comfort heart. Wrap your arms around our world and hold us in your love. Allow us at this time of trial to then serve as instruments of that love to all we meet. We ask this in your name. Amen. Father,
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the
To
flag
the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley,
Here.
Mr. Wilson,
Here.
Mr. Lippert,
Here.
Mr. Duda,
Here.
Mr. Cook,
Here.
Mrs. Knight,
Here.
Mr. Schmidt. Is Mr.
Here.
Schmidt here?
Yes, he is. Approval of our minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from May 12th? Seeing none, those stand as written and distributed. We'll go to reports and communication. Mayor Hardman.
Hey, so Vicki, I know that we have our young essay winners, so why don't we go ahead and take them now before we get into all the fun business of the night. It's always a great time to start with these young kids, so I'll let you do that if you don't mind.
Not at all. Thank you. I'm going to bring over three very talented young children. They're fifth graders, and they go to school between Sharonville Elementary and St. Michael's. They were tasked with doing what Memorial Day means to me as a project. I believe both schools gave extra credit for it. We had 17 students do that. They all won. The 4 have won $25 gift card, and they're going to read us their essays this evening. Let me pull. Our first up is going to be Mrs. Addie Carrington. Hi, Addie.
Okay.
Addie, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Addie, and please read your essay. You look awfully cute.
Thank you. Memorial Day is a very special holiday that happens on the last Monday of May. Most people my age get confused about what Memorial Day is all about. Memorial Day is a special holiday, especially to people who have lost loved ones who have fallen in a war. Relatives who have fallen in a war will be remembered on this day. Memorial Day for my family is a day to be with family and friends and remember all of those who have lost loved ones. Memorial Day is also a time to remember we wouldn't have freedom if it weren't for the people who sacrificed their lives for our country. Even if you don't have relatives who have fallen in a war, you can still remember all of those who have sacrificed their lives, even if you don't know them. On Memorial Day, my family will go to cemeteries to put flowers by family members who were in the military to show our appreciation for them. Sometimes people will visit memorials of people who have lost their lives to show appreciation. Soldiers did amazing things for us, and we can do things for them to thank them even if they aren't here. As you can see, Memorial Day is a very special holiday. People sometimes get confused about what this holiday is about, but hopefully this cleared it up. This Memorial Day, remember what these soldiers did for us and why they did what they did.
Thank you, Addie. That was a great job. And I want to mention that you go to Sharonville Elementary School. So thank you very much. And now I'm going to bring over our second winner. And that is going to be Miss Eva Schmidt. Eva, are you on?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Eva, if you could. There you are. Now we have your video. Go ahead and start reading your essay, please. You can go ahead and read.
Memorial Day is a day to honor soldiers who died and fought in wars. This year, Memorial Day takes place on May 25th, 2020. What Memorial Day means to me is it reminds me of the braveness of the soldiers who went into war and died so I could be free and happy. I'm so thankful for everyone who has fought to make our country and our world free. I'm especially thankful for my grandpa's dad who fought and died in World War II, and my grandma's dad who also fought in World War II and survived. Even though it's a fun day to be off work or school or go on a picnic, we also have to keep in mind all the people who have died and what our world would be like today if no one stood up to fight. A very good way of remembering soldiers is to decorate their gravestones with flowers and American flags. I have to admit that until this essay contest, I didn't usually think much of Memorial Day. This essay, though, led me to do a little extra research about Memorial Day. 3 interesting facts about Memorial Day I found out are, number 1, several cities claim to be the birthplace of Memorial Day, but in 1966, President Lyndon Johnson declared Waterloo, New York to be the official birthplace because it was the town that had a party. Number 2, it was originally called Decoration Day because people decorated their loved ones' graves with flags and flowers. Number 3, it's legally required to have a moment of remembrance because Congress passed a law in December of 2000 requiring Americans to stop at 3 p.m. and remember the fallen soldiers. Now that I have learned this, on Memorial Day, I will remember to honor the soldiers who died in war, especially at 3 p.m. I will not use the day as just a day of play, and I might go visit one of the local monuments honoring soldiers.
Thank you very much. Nice job, Eva. And our last one that is going to be on Zoom with us tonight is Nora Pelzel. Nora, I'm going to bring you over and make you a panelist so we can see your pretty picture. Thank you, Eva. And Eva goes to St. Michael's and so does Nora. Nora, there you are.
All right.
Okay, Nora.
What Memorial Day means to me. Hello, my name is Nora Pelzel. Memorial Day means a lot to so many people, but there are a few things that always stick out to me about Memorial Day. People's bravery, courage, and willingness to fight for our country. Now, if I were to ask you to join the Army, then you probably wouldn't do it. I mean, after all, who wants to risk their life and almost die? Even though it has an amazing pay, many people wouldn't do it. I know I certainly wouldn't, but that's just something that people in the Army just decide to accept. I mean, think about it. Those people who choose to do it are basically saying they care more about the well-being of America than their own life. Humanity overlooks the importance of so many things. The drive behind everything is usually a reward. Sometimes we can't even lift a finger to replace the remote batteries. We can't even spend 5 minutes looking for a clean shirt, so we just wear the same one. People who fight for us and our freedom aren't doing this for money, because if they die, how are they supposed to get a paycheck? They aren't doing this for themselves, because they don't know if they'll live to see another day. They're doing this for our well-being and our freedom. I think that everyone should take a moment of silence to remember them and appreciate the ones that are currently still fighting for us. But remember that there are heroes all around us, not just on the battlefield.
Thank you very much. That was a nice job. Thank you.
Thanks.
And the last person, like I said, we were unable to reach Jordan Rains, but I will go ahead and I'm going to read her essay. Jordan's essay. To me, Memorial Day is important because many people sacrifice their life to make sure we have freedom. Also, the veterans made sure that we are safe and they are selfless because they wanted to help others besides themselves. Memorial Day is a federal holiday in the United States for honoring and mourning the military personnel who had died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. The holiday is now observed on the last Monday of May, having been observed on May 30th from 1868 to 1970. Many people visit cemeteries and memorials on Memorial Day to honor and mourn those who had died in military service. Many people from their families place an American flag on each grave in honor in cemeteries. Memorial Day is considered the unofficial start of summer in the United States, while Labor Day marks the unofficial start of autumn on the first Monday of September. People celebrate Memorial Day because they want to honor the people in the military that fought for their freedoms. Also, because it is the start of summer, so people have the get-togethers and barbecues. Another thing is that people will go to parades and watch them. People also like to celebrate by going to the grave of their loved ones that passed away, and they will have picnics. Other things is that on Memorial Day, to prepare, there is a small American flag placed on the 280,000 graves of people that have passed away. On Memorial Day, I have a barbecue with all of my family at the park. And then at 3, we will take a moment of silence to honor the people that were in the war. I would also write letters to family members that I couldn't get to. As you can see, this is why I think Memorial Day is very important and that we need to keep celebrating this day for the people that fought for our freedom and helped us. Plus, they were selfless and decided to help other people and go to war. So thank you, Jordan, also for that. That was wonderful. And she is a Sharonville elementary student. So that was nice. We had 2 winners from each school. Mayor, that's all I have. Just a thank you to the veterans that read and chose the winners. We did not choose the winners. They were chosen by veterans. So thank you very much.
Vicki, thank you for putting that together. And I think we have a special gift that's going out to all of those 4 children. Is that correct?
Yes, they all won $25 and they're going to get gift cards dropped off to their houses tomorrow.
There you go. So congratulations, Addison, Eva, Nora. Thank you very much for sharing your essays with us tonight. It was great to hear from you. It's unfortunate we didn't get to hear from you at a ceremony yesterday at Patriot Point. Maybe we'll invite you to come back next year in the 6th grade, and we'll hear 8 wonderful essays next year, so that more folks can hear what Memorial Day means to you. So I'm glad that you're able to take this moment to learn a little bit more about why we celebrate Memorial Day and what it is all about. But you know what? Here's a little secret for you. None of us will mind if you disappear on us, but you're welcome to stay and watch the rest of our meeting. But usually you all scamper off when you're actually at our council meetings, but you're welcome to stay tuned and listen to the rest of our meeting tonight. But thank you all very much for joining us. For my report this evening, just going back to Memorial Day, we weren't able to have our usual ceremony, obviously at Patriot Point, but I want to just give a big thanks to Mr. Pietmeyer for arranging all of the many veterans who stood guard over the memorial from 8 a.m. through noon in a very, very hot day yesterday, and a very important thing it was. And then at noon, we had a very little, a small commemoration where we played taps and said a few words, which was appropriate to mark the occasion. So hopefully we will again be back at Patriot Point for our usual Memorial Day ceremonies next year, as it should be appropriately honored and celebrated. Our city is moving back into full steam by mid-June. We should have our employees, our buildings back open for the public, as well as our employees back in the office on a regular basis. So we're excited about the plans that are in place to make that happen, but to also during that time to ensure the safety of the public who visit us, as well as the safety of the employees. So we're ramping back up, and we're following all those guidelines that are out there to do that. Michael and Carol are here tonight. I know they're going to share our plans for the rec center that we have been diligently, or they have been diligently working on putting together over the last week, since the governor gave some opening dates for things like pool facilities and gyms and fitness centers and tracks and tennis courts. So I think at this point is probably a good enough time to turn it over to the two of them, so they can share for the first time for all of you and for the public. And we're going to get all this information out to the public through our social media channels effective tomorrow morning. So I'm going to turn it over to them, Vicki, for the next portion of my report.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Carol and I are here obviously this evening to talk, like Kevin mentioned, about the reopening plans. We did have some reopenings today, but before we get into it, I do want to take a second and thank everybody on our team, all of our supervisors, all of our staff, especially Carol as well. We were a bit surprised when we did hear that we were going to be able to open. We were excited as well. So we were kind of in a mad dash to get some things together and get them done as safely as we can for the residents and the members. So we're really excited to get things back up and running. There's going to be some new changes and new operational rules that we'll have in place. A lot of these things were given to us as mandatory guidelines from the governor. So we've taken that information and put it to our plans, and we're excited to kind of present some of that stuff now. Like I said, we did have some openings today. The tennis courts opened this morning. New signage was added to the tennis courts to remind folks how to safely play. A lot of the signage that you'll see throughout our building is either given to us through the Ohio Department of Health, Hamilton County Public Health, USTA, the U.S. Tennis Association, provided some of the signs today. So we have quite a bit of signage that a lot of folks are going to see. Also today, baseball and softball fields opened. I know that there was plans for some practices to fire up this evening. So at Kemper Park, if you drive by, you'll probably see some ball players out there now gearing up for their shortened season. But I'm sure that those athletes are excited to be able to play. So getting into some of the heavier things here, I believe I'm going to be able to share my screen with you. I just want to make sure that that's okay. Vicki, am I okay? Okay, good deal. These are some of the plans. As you all know, we had told everybody June 1st, our fitness center and our track. Those would be the first two pieces of our puzzle that would be reopening. So I'll be able to share some of that information with you on what folks can expect. This is the sheets that are specific to us. These were, they might look familiar, but they were kind of recreated by our staff. But this is what things that people should be expecting when they go in the building. Now, all these sheets will be available as links on our website. They'll be available on our Facebook page. They'll be available in print at our facilities so folks can take them with them. The goal of these sheets was to be able to make them nice and easy to read so people can smack them on the refrigerator and know what to expect when they get into the building. So a few of the key things that we're going to be going over in terms of the community center, obviously the fitness center and track, like I mentioned, are June 1st. We will be open to members only at this time, no guests. And that'll be the memberships that were affected by COVID-19 were affected by our closure. We had already announced to a lot of our residents and members that we were going to be extending their memberships by the number of days that we've been closed at a minimum. So we're still looking at ways to make sure we protect those memberships and we add value to them. But at a minimum, we know that those folks whose memberships were affected by our closure will be extended. We will be screening members when they come in. We do have temperature scanners. So we'll have those folks as they come through the door screened. Masks are recommended. not required. We will be asking folks to sign a logbook, and that's for potential contact tracing, and that's a guideline from the governor. We've been set up with signage, like I mentioned. A lot of our seating has been removed. Our lobby looks a lot different right now because the goal is to get people in for their activity safely, and then get people out for back outside and back to their car safely as well. Water fountains have been disabled. We will have our no-touch bottle filler available. Vending machines have been disabled. There's been, like I said, quite a bit of changes. There's signage on the floor. There's signage on the walls. There's signage on sandwich boards out front. So there'll be quite a bit of signage that'll help folks be directed in the right way, and also understand, why we're doing some of the things that we're doing just to protect them. Keeping things clean. This is one of our biggest things that we want to do and be really, really good at. We've got a fantastic staff, so we know we can do a great job. Obviously, we want people to practice good hygiene, come to the facility with clean hands. We want people to not come to the facility if they feel ill. So if they feel ill, stay home. Folks obviously are going to have a temperature scan when they come to the door. I believe that magic number is 100.4. So we would ask if everybody, is coming to the rec, take your temperature before you come down. If you're close to that 100.4, it's probably not a good idea to come to the recreation center that day. We'll have hand sanitizing stations everywhere. We've got some of the touchless stations. We've got pump stations. You'll see quite a bit of hand sanitizer. Restrooms, we've had foot pedals installed so that they can be touchless. Our locker rooms, unfortunately, will not be available at this time because from a showering standpoint, we are unable to provide that service. The restrooms will be cleaned every 2 hours. All of our products that we use, the disinfectants, are EPA registered, and they meet those CDC guidelines. Our staff will be in masks. So a lot of our staff, when you see them come in, they'll be in masks. You might even see some of our staff that will be cleaning on a regular basis, could be wearing face shields. Some of them could be wearing gloves that are going to be touching some of those real high touch surface areas. So that's something that folks should keep in mind. Again, our members that come through the door are not required to wear a mask, but it is recommended. So again, they can choose to do that if they want, but our staff will have them on. And then last thing, we respectfully ask that everybody kind of keeps their distance from our staff. We're really trying to keep it as safe as possible. We're definitely happy to, cut up with people a little bit, but as the mandatory guidelines state, there's really no lingering. Folks are recommended to kind of get into their activity, show up for their activity ready to go, and then after that they'll be asked to leave. We will do it as friendly and as cooperatively as we can, but our goal is to move on to the next set of people. Carol, please correct me or please jump in. I know that Carol did quite a bit of the work on all of these things, and I just go ahead and make it look pretty on the page, but please jump in, Carol, if you have anything that you'd like to add.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Getting into the specifics of the fitness center. We know that our fitness center is limited to 12 people. The square footage of that room, the 6-foot radius that each piece of equipment must have around it, that gives us the magic number of 12. Again, if people feel ill, we encourage them to stay home. Members will be limited to 1-hour time slots to use the fitness center, beginning when we open each day. Our normal hours will be observed, and that is Monday through Thursday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday, noon to 4. So each 1-hour slot will be followed by a 15-minute closure, where our crew will kind of just will safely get people out, and we will just kind of converge on all the surfaces, get things as clean and ready for the next group as humanly possible. Everything will be shined and bright and ready to go. And then when that next group of 12 comes into the fitness center, we'll be ready for them. So our goal is to really keep people safe. And that's what a lot of these mandatory guidelines that came down from the governor and from the Ohio Department of Health are in place for. Slots can be reserved one of 3 ways. We've set up an online ability for folks to create an online login. This is the site that they'll go to starting tomorrow. they can do that. Folks can also call our front desk and we'll be happy to register you as well. And folks can do it at the door. But the problem with at the door, if you show up not having made a reservation, there is a chance that there could be an empty slot in that 1 hour period. But there's also a good chance that there's not. So you might have to take a slot later in the day, which we'd be happy to register you for. But if there is an available slot, then we will go ahead and get that to you. I'll touch a little bit on the registration, online registration process towards the end, because you'll start to see that the online registration for fitness center and then for the track, which will have its own schedule, and then the pool as well, will all follow some very similar rules. Members of 13 and older fitness center, that's a standard policy for us. So we'll continue that. 6 foot distancing is required. All the open equipment, we really tried very, very hard to get as much of our equipment as open as possible. Some of our equipment is electric, so that creates issues for us in terms of where we can move it. But we will have quite a bit of our equipment open. What we won't have open is our free weights and our plate loading machines. Those are currently closed. Those are surface areas that constantly being touched are almost an impossibility for us to keep clean for our members. So right now, those will not be open. Gym wipes will be available like they have been in the past. We were really fortunate enough to get a super large order shipped to us right when this all started. So that was great insight by our staff to get that. And those will be available for folks as they start their workout and then as they finish their workout. One of the things that our machines are going to be operating on is essentially a red light, green light system, where there'll be cards on the dashboard of each machine that will let people know if it has not been disinfected yet. Our staff will be kind of right there ready and waiting when somebody gets off a machine to do a little bit more extensive disinfecting, so that that next person that would like to use it is ready to go. The personal training that we like to do is not going to be available at this time. One of the biggest things for our facility that we did when we renovated was we added the really nice ceiling fans that push a lot of air. And unfortunately, one of the guidelines from the governor is that pushing air directly on people that are working out is a no-no. So we're going to try our best to find ways to get air moving in there and keep it cool. And that way people, obviously folks are coming to the fitness center to work out, which is inherently a sweaty thing that people are going to do. So we're going to try our best to keep it as cool as we can and keep air flowing in there. But hopefully folks will be patient with us. Personal item storage, coat racks and cubbies, they're unfortunately not available at this time. So we're really hoping that folks can limit the items that they bring in. Ideally, you would arrive ready to work out. The fitness centers will be ready to go, but the locker rooms, like I said, are closed. We want people to bring in enough stuff that can essentially fit in a large gallon Ziploc bag. So if it can fit in a Ziploc bag, bring it in. That's great. We want to kind of push people away from bringing in large duffel bags or large backpacks. Basically your wallet, your keys, your phone, your device, your magazine, your book, that's great. But we really want to try and limit the amount of items that people are bringing in. Bring your own water bottle. We'll have the bottle filler, but bring water from home, since we won't have access to the water fountains since they're disabled per the governor mandates. So that's how the fitness center will work. Again, I mentioned the registration. We're going to be rolling that out tomorrow. A lot of our social media stuff will be pushing some of these pages that you see out tonight and tomorrow, so that folks can see them. Again, it'll be on our website. It'll be on our Facebook page, and we'll have it all available for as many people as we can. In addition, we do have a lot of our staff that is going to be calling our active members in reverse order by age. So some of our oldest members will be getting personal phone calls with this exact information, so that we know they've got it. We don't want folks showing up at the door once they know that we've opened, not knowing this in advance. So we're going to try real hard to make sure we get as many of those members over the age, not a certain age, but starting in reverse order by age, and give them a call. And Carol, how many members do we have in that kind of senior adult age category?
Since we do a discount for 62 and over residents, we selected 62, and I think some of our members are in their 80s, early 90s. So we had 998 individuals that we'll need to call within the next few days. And again, we'll start with the eldest, and then we'll move down to our more younger population.
Yeah, so a big task for our staff, but we're up to it. One of the things we know is a lot of those folks that are in their 90s might not be on Facebook. Although there are some 90-year-olds that are, they might not be on Facebook or have access to it. So we want to make sure we get them the information personally. And that's why we're going to start in reverse order by age. So moving on to the track. The track looks very similar to what you just saw with the fitness center. The limit on the track is 12. 1 hour time slots, 15-minute closures after, and this will all run concurrently. So we'll open up at 6 a.m. 12 folks will be able to utilize the track. 12 folks will be able to utilize the fitness center. And then at 7 a.m. we'll close for 15 minutes. We'll clean everything up, and then we'll open again at 7:15. We're going to do it as quickly as we can, and as efficiently as we can to get that next group of people in, so they don't have to wait. Online registration for this will be done using the same software, and there'll be a link for that. That'll be specific to the track. Folks can still call our desk. We can still do it in person at the door, but we encourage people to make a reservation ahead of time. Again, I can't stress it enough. If you show up at the door and you really haven't contacted our staff to pinpoint a reservation time, we can't guarantee that we'll have one right there. Same idea with the fitness center, 13 years of older. The corners of the track are currently closed. Right now, we're working on finding opportunities to put some of the equipment that we have possibly in the track corners. The problem with our track corners is our track is banked. So our corners are on a slope. So we're working to try and find opportunities to get some of the equipment out there that doesn't necessarily have to be on a super flat surface. Benches are provided inside the track, and that is for folks that need to take a rest. So we know that some of the folks really get after it when they're running the track or walking the track, and they might need to take a breath. So those will be available inside the track. I did mention about our lobby. A lot of our seating has been removed from our lobby. There will be limited seating available still, and that's for, if folks do need to come in and quickly change their shoes, or if we have somebody with that needs a caregiver with them and they need a place to safely sit while their person walks the track or works out. So we do have some limited seating. It's all spaced 6 feet apart, and that'll be available as well. The doors to the track will be removed. So the only thing that people in theory will really need to do when they come in is hit their elbow on the button that automatically opens the doors. That second set will already be open. They'll get their temperature scan, and they can walk right into the track without touching anything, since those doors have been removed. Directional signage obviously will be on the track. We ask folks that we'll keep a 6-foot distance. We're really asking folks to refrain from walking in groups unless it's a group, someone from your direct household that you live with. We do have a lot of groups that come and they walk in the mornings and they congregate. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that yet. We're excited to be able to get back to that soon, but we're just not there yet. The same rules for the track apply in terms of walking and running. Please don't stop on the track unless it's an emergency. And again, we ask that people come ready to work out and not bring a lot of extra items with them. Getting into the exciting piece is the Aquatic Center. This actually took up a little bit more than a page, so we have quite a bit to cover here. But the Aquatic Center is opening June 8th. So one of the major reasons for the June 8th opening is staffing. Lifeguards and having lifeguards on deck trained properly couldn't necessarily happen until just a few days ago. So a lot of our staff right now, and you'll probably see the pool open this week with people moving around in there, and that's our staff being trained, ready to go. So that June 8th, we'll be ready to fire on all cylinders with the pool. The pool, again, will be members only, no guests. So everybody that comes to the pool, comes to the fitness center, comes to the track, we expect you to bring your membership ID with you. masks are recommended, but not required. I know some facilities have required masks, some facilities have not. Again, they're recommended by the governor, by the Ohio Department of Health, by CDC, but it might not be the best fit for you or for your family. So it's totally a recommendation. Again, members will be asked to sign a logbook for potential contact tracing. One of the things we know about the pool season this year is the swim team was unfortunately canceled. The NSSL had voted unanimously to shut down championships and swim meets. So we worked with Amy Sharpshire with the Sharonville Sharks, came to a joint decision, partnered decision to cancel the season. Additionally, we will not be offering group swim lessons this summer. We will be offering private swim lessons. Those will be done prior to opening or after the pool closure. Those private swim lessons are done on a 1-to-1 ratio. So we will have those. But the thing that not having swim lessons, not having the swim team allows us to do, allows us to open the pool earlier. The pool will open every day at 10:30. The pool will close every day at 8 p.m. That's every day of the week, Monday through Sunday. So we will not have separate hours on the weekends versus on Tuesday. Unfortunately, the Aquatic Center, based on our capacity right now, is limited to 80 people. So no more than 80 members at one time. Swimmers will be allowed to swim in 2-hour time slots, and those 2-hour time slots will be followed by a 30-minute closure, very similar to how we're doing fitness and track. If you can imagine that during that 30-minute closure, every handrail, every pool chair, everything that somebody could touch will be cleaned during those 30 minutes. So again, it'll be like, a little army of ants kind of going and doing their thing, which we feel very confident that SwimSafe will be able to do. They put some really good plans together. SwimSafe had a lot of help in drafting some early plans for the governor to get his eyes on that pools could in fact open. So we're very confident in their ability to do that and keep our members safe. The reservations will be done online, similar to how the fitness and track is done. People can call the front desk. People can show up at the gate of the pool if there's a slot. But again, we really encourage people to do it in advance because the likelihood of you showing up at noon and the pool being filled with 80 people is probably high. So it's better to get a slot, for you and your family and your swimmers in advance. One of the changes that we did make is members must be 14 years of age or older to enter the aquatics facility without an adult. So that's something that has been temporarily put in place, obviously for these times, but we'll be posting that to all of our folks as well, because that is something that's different this year. Open swim will be in effect during the 2-hour time slot. We're going to ask that we put the last 15 minutes reserved for an adult swim. And there's 2 reasons for that. One, we do have folks that are going to come to the pool and they are going to be without children, and they might, find some quiet time in the pool during those last 15 minutes. But it also allows mom and dad to, start that process of their children working towards cleaning up, getting ready to leave, and safely exiting the pool, so that we can go ahead and get the pool safely emptied. And when I say emptied, meaning members, and get the cleaning done for the next 80 people. So, we're all in this together is obviously something that's been said quite a bit, but it's true. We want to make sure that the next 80 folks are able to come in. So we'll get that cleaned up as quickly as we can. And there's some things that we're putting in place to try and safely do that. Once we get better at this, these are some of the things that we could possibly start to look at change. We can possibly look at dropping the 15 minutes. When things start to loosen up, we can definitely look at more capacity. As things get easier for us and easier for the pool staff, we want to be able to be as flexible as we can. And that goes for fitness and track too. Be as flexible as we can to accommodate as many people as we can, as quickly as we can. The facility's been set up for social distancing, signage everywhere. There'll be markings on the concrete as well, so people know what 6 feet look like. Some people don't. Pool staff will not be policing social distancing. So this is per SwimSafe. We are going to have as much signage as we can, but their staff will not be policing social distancing. So we're really relying on the we're all in this together factor for people to be able to do a good job and keep not only themselves safe, their family safe, but the rest of our community safe. And that's what's really important here. I feel very confident that our community is going to be able to do that. And I think that's, our pool this summer will be one of the success stories that we did a great job of it and we did it right. Water fountains obviously have been disabled. Pool locker rooms are currently closed. And this kind of goes back to the idea of the individual showers. We really are having a lot of tough time with the individual showers as per the governor's mandate. And the reason that is when you have individual showers, you essentially have to have a bathroom attendant. Showers have to be cleaned in between every single use. And that poses a real big problem for us in the pool and in the locker rooms in the building. So we do have 2 individual restrooms. Those will be open. Those are the ones that are right there at the pool house. Those will be open normally. It'll be cleaned every 2 hours. The comp pool will be open. The plunge pool will be open. The family pool will be open. In order for us to increase our capacity and give people more room to spread out, the diving boards will be closed. This is something that, again, we can remain flexible on, and we can look at if we do get some restrictions loosened up, reopening them. But for now, we know that we're going to be able to have more people more spread out in the comp pool by closing our diving boards. Same thing with our large slide structure. That will be closed because that allows us to have more folks in the plunge pool. We're still working with Hamilton County Public Health on the slide structure in the family pool. We have our appointments set up with HCPH, and that's one of the questions that we have. There's still some questions we're trying to get to the bottom of, and that slide structure is obviously one of them. Our concession stand will be open. Will be a limited menu. All of the safe food handling guidelines will be in place. I mentioned the swim team being canceled. A couple other things that we will not be hosting this summer, our splash aerobics classes, all of our aquatic events, which that really bums me out. I love all the fun things that our staff is able to put together. Unfortunately, the birthday parties that we worked really, really hard on to get started this year will not be happening this summer. Group swim lessons, like I had mentioned, those are some of the things that we will not be doing. A few other things to remember for a lot of our folks that are coming to the pool. Obviously, our pool is no alcohol, but folks are allowed to bring coolers. You're allowed to bring drinks and snacks, and we do check coolers when you come in. Some of the reminders from the governor and Ohio Department of Health are pool toys, goggles, nose clips, noodles. Those are the sharing of those items are prohibited. And what that means is if they're a real personal item like goggles or nose clips, yeah, that you can definitely bring those to the facility. Obviously, sharing them is prohibited, but it's much harder to if you bring a large float or a noodle to not share those types of things. So we're asking in the beginning that folks limit the amount of things that they bring in. This includes wagons or big chairs or things like that, large floats. We really want you to show up ready to swim. Bring your towels and your stuff that you might need for your 2-hour time slot, and then we'll see you again later that week. Let's see, page 2, talking about some of our cleaning. Again, we asked folks come to the facility with clean hands and practice while they're at the facility. We'll have hand sanitizer everywhere. Obviously, the bathrooms will be open for people to wash their hands, but it's probably a good idea to bring your own bottle of sanitizer too if you do come to the facility. Something that kind of goes without saying for everybody: don't touch your face or your eyes. Cover your coughs and your sneezes. Gloves are not really recommended at the facilities. So we really don't want people to wear rubber gloves on the track in the fitness center or to the pool because the CDC knows that the best practice for keeping your hands clean is actually sanitizer versus transferring the germs from one spot to another on a pair of gloves. Those restrooms will be cleaned every 2 hours. Like I said, the locker rooms will be unavailable. But during our 30-minute closures, you'll see our group out there like an army of ants, and they'll be out there cleaning as fast and as efficiently as they can to get the pool ready for our next group. Like I had mentioned prior as well, that staff will be wearing PPE. The lifeguards will be in masks. And that is something that swim Safe has put into place, and they'll be wearing like a swimsuit material type mask. They're training with those now, so that they can get used to it. I do know that that's going to be a toasty one. It's going to be a hot one wearing a mask in 100-degree heat, but they're going to do everything they can to remember to keep our swimmers safe, themselves safe. Again, we ask that you practice social distancing with our staff. And just another reminder that our pool staff will not be policing social distancing. So we're really asking people to heed the warning from the CDC, from the governor, from the Ohio Department of Health, to keep that 6-foot distance from folks that are not in your household. I will share with you guys real fast. I talked a little bit about the registration and what the registration is going to look like. We will have our online registration set up. I mentioned also that we'll have these plans online. So very soon you'll see the link to all those sheets that I just read you right there. And I mentioned can everybody see this okay? City of Sharonville logo with this little table. This is what our online reservation system is going to look like. It's very simple. And that was the goal. We wanted something that was not going to be overly complicated for people to be able to register for. So once folks get onto this website through the link that we'll provide them, they'll find the opening that looks best for them, and they'll go ahead and click on it, create a new reservation. They'll be able to type in their name and phone number, and they'll have a reservation, and that'll be for them ready to go. Now, obviously, folks, when they get onto this site, they're going to have to create a login. That was one of the things that we tried to circumvent, but we were unable to. Through that login, it will remember your email address. So once you create a reservation, it will send you an email confirmation letting you know that you are ready to go for Monday, June 1 at 8:30. You'll also get a reminder before your appointment starts, an hour or two, saying, hey, don't forget, come to the fitness center at this time. You'll also have the ability to to cancel your reservation if you end up not going to be there, or to reschedule it. So we really want folks that are going to be utilizing this to be responsible with it, because we would like to give everybody the opportunity to get into the fitness center. One of the things, and Kevin, please feel free to jump in, because this was hard for me to wrap my brain around to begin with, but I got it now, I believe. We are going to be doing reservations in this manner. And if I can explain it, this is the best way that I can explain it. The week prior, we'll call that week 1. Folks will have the opportunity to go online during week 1 to register for week 2. On Monday and Tuesday in week 1, folks will have the opportunity to register for 1 slot any day of the week in week 2. That's Monday and Tuesday. Everybody can pick their 1 slot. Once Wednesday rolls around in week 1, people can then go back and register for more slots in week 2. Those slots will obviously be still available. There'll be plenty of space available. I think after we get people, registered, so people will be able to go back and add a reservation or 2 or 3. And again, the floodgates kind of open on Wednesday for people to pick and choose more dates so that they can kind of supplement their fitness schedule. I hope I explained that as well as I could. Yeah, that's the goal.
I think you did a nice job. And the reason why we're doing that is we wanted to give everyone the opportunity to, because we know with such a limited capacity that people are not going to be able to hit the time they always use the fitness center, or the days specifically that they always use the fitness center. So what we wanted to do was to give as much opportunity for people to at least get 1 time and 1 day a week that they're used to. And that's why we're kind of doing this graduated sign up. So the first 2 days when signups are open for a week, 1 slot, that's all you're able to sign up for. And then once Wednesday hits, if you're a 3-time, 4-time, 5-time a week user of the Fitness Center, whatever options are available to you starting Wednesday on, you can sign up for as many slots as you want, but only 1 hour a day. So you'll only be able to use 1 hour a day. It was, Michael, Carol, the rest of your team, you guys did a great job in compiling all of this information, taking some burdensome regulations and trying to create an opportunity for our residents and our members to use our facilities in a timely manner. Having given them the opportunity to share all the good news, I guess I will relieve them from having to share the bad news, and I'll do that for them. And that is after discussing the requirements that would be placed upon us to have a Camp Sharonville, it's our decision not to have Camp Sharonville this year. Typically, our Camp Sharonville is 90 people. We sell out. We would be restricted to only 30 people, 30 children, based on social distancing guidelines, based on staff ratio to children, and knowing that and we wouldn't be able to do many of the things that we typically do at Camp Sharonville. No pool, no field trips, no overnights, all those things that the kids really love doing as part of that. So basically, if we were to open, it would purely be to basically provide a daycare service for folks that have used it in that way in the past. Upon looking at the numbers that we would have, I just feel in consultation with Michael and Carol and Jim and the rest of our team, that low a number is just not is a disservice to a great number of people that won't be able to make that cutoff. It was a difficult decision. We know that it will impact at least members of our own staff here in the city who rely upon that service to provide some childcare during the summer months, but it just is not feasible. So for a variety of reasons, but mostly that capacity issue with only being able to welcome 30 children for that program. It just is too restrictive for us to put together for this summer. It hurts to do that, especially for such an amazing program that is so well liked and so well received. It just is the only answer we have with regard to that program. So that is the bad piece of news that I have to share with all of you this evening, that we will obviously be sharing with the rest of the public here in the next day or two on Camp Sharonville. I have one or two other things to talk about in my report, but if you guys have questions for Michael and Carol, this might be the right time. I think Michael had.
I do have a couple more things to add before we get into that. We're still working on the rest of our facility. So what you might have seen is our pool is going to open June 8th. Our fitness center and our track's going to open June 1st. That's the top half of our building. So we're still working on how we can open up our gymnasium safely, how we can open up our craft room, our game room, our gathering room, our meeting room, our multi-purpose room. There's a lot of other rooms, our nursery, that we are still working on. Some of those guidances we've been given by the state, some we haven't, but we're trying to start with the top portion of our building. We're excited about that, and we'll do a real good job with that. But we'll also be in constant communication with our community and with the administration and the mayor and council on the remainder of our programs, the remainder of our amenities. We're still hoping to get more detail from the state regarding a lot of our outdoor amenities, including playgrounds, including shelters. These are things that I expect to see very soon. So I'm hopeful. Give a quick update on Gorman Playground, which, even if it can't open, it hopefully will be done here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. All of that equipment was delivered, and they've had quite a bit of setback with the rain, as you can imagine. So they're starting to get the curbs pulled out, and the grading that started to happen this week, and they're going to get that playground installed, which has been over there and ready to go here shortly. So we're excited to be able to get that in there. One of the things that we talked about with our council committee was the rec center track, the running and walking track. And we entertained the idea as with capital budget this year, we had planned on replacing that track. And we looked at the potential of getting it replaced during our closure. We were unfortunately not able to get that replaced in time for reopening. So the current track obviously is still viable, and we will work on that replacement schedule later in the year or possibly into next year. So that replacement will not be occurring right away. The only other thing I have is all these details are going to roll out on our Facebook page, on our website. I mentioned phone calls. We'll be emailing folks as well. There'll be quite a bit of communication going out. So we would love it if you guys were able to share that, those posts that you see on Facebook with your people, and help us kind of spread the word, because we want to give everybody a fair shot at getting in there and enjoying some of the amenities that we have this year, and some of the amenities that we are opening up as quick as we can. So Carol, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, I just wanted to say a message from the staff to the mayor and the council members that they're very appreciative of everything that you've done for them over the last several months. And they just really are excited to come back to work. Some of them have been working throughout the months, but they're very thankful, and they look forward to seeing all of you.
And we're happy to take any questions that folks might have.
Question here. Mike, how long do you plan on holding reservations? In other words, you got the 6 a.m. slot at the fitness center and 12 people have signed up, but none of them show up at 6 a.m. You got some people walking in and there's nobody in there and you got to turn them away. You say 15 minutes. What?
Yeah, so we're looking to perfect that process too, and that's a tough answer, and here's the reason why. We have some folks that only come and work out for 20 minutes, so we're going to give them an hour, but we have some folks that only come in and actually will do a 20-minute walk on the treadmill to warm themselves up to go run outside. So it's really hard for us to determine how long they're going to be there. But yeah, we're looking to put something in place that says, hey, if you are registered for the 7 a.m. time slot and you show up 30 minutes after the time slot began, then you're essentially relinquishing your spot, and we'll give it to the next person in line who's here. Now, obviously, that next person in line would then have 30 minutes to get in there and get their stuff done before that closure and 15-minute cleaning period. But those are some of the details that we're really trying to work through, and that'll be all in our communication. I wish I could give you a better answer than that, but yeah, it's definitely something we're thinking about.
Hey, Michael, I had a resident give me a call who does use the workout room, and he wanted to know with some of the equipment, if it's easily movable, be placed on the gym, down in the gym. And he says, and that way, if the gym's not being used right now, maybe some of that equipment, if it's easy to move. And I said, well, I don't think any of it's going to be easy to move.
No.
And he says, it's just, an idea. Maybe they can use the gym until they get approval for the gym. So
Sure.
he's going to be watching this, I'm sure. So I told him I'd bring up the question
Sure.
to you, and I'll let you give the answer.
Absolutely. So here's the answer to that. Our staff has done a really good job of spacing things out in the fitness room. So we're still able to offer probably about 75 to 85% of what we have in there. So we didn't really necessarily feel that we needed to move stuff right away. We're looking at trying to bring back our group exercise classes and our silver sneakers classes quickly. And we know that when we do bring those back, those have to be in a room larger than the aerobics room because people really need a space to spread out. We're looking at bringing back quite a bit of our programming, as quick as we can. And the idea of putting some of the equipment downstairs only for like a 1 week or a 2 week period, we found really, really tough to be able to gauge what we would move down there and how much we would benefit from that. We thought about that quite a bit. That was one of the initial thoughts that we had, was doing that. We run into some electrical issues because some of our equipment is electrical. And obviously some of our equipment, our newer equipment, is humongous. That's one of the reasons when we did our facility renovation, we had to add a second set of double doors and double doors to the fitness center as well. So to answer your question, we looked at it. We decided not to do it off the bat because we're hoping to be able to utilize those spaces for programming for other folks as well quickly. And we wanted to have that flexibility to do that.
That sounds good. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mike, this is a personal question. You have an elderly gentleman, I think, Bobby Smith. I was wondering if you can personally, I know he doesn't do email, he doesn't do computer. You're going to have to explain this to him 2 or 3 times. So I hope whoever you pick to discuss this with him, I hope it works out good, because he's a very nice gentleman, but he's a little crazy. So
we all know Bob very well. Bob's a beloved character amongst our staff. And we've got quite a bit of Bobs. We've got quite a bit of people just like Bob that are in that same boat, that don't get their information over, email or text or Facebook or anything like that. So we're personally reaching out to those folks through phone call, because we know it's going to be hard for them to kind of understand and wrap their brain around how this is going to work at first. But we're going to have staff right out in front of the door to, when folks pull up, to try and save them the trip of walking in, so that they know if they're here, they should have an appointment. And if they don't, then we'll have the paper printout so that they can better understand how our process is going to work. And we'll have a laptop or an iPad or something right there to try and get them an appointment, so that they can say, hey, I'm sorry you can't be here now, but could you come back in 2 hours? Could you come back tomorrow? So we're really going to try and accommodate those folks because we know how important it is for them as well.
Also, you're mentioning about the groups getting together. I know a lot of the seniors have been asking me when they could get, and I said it's going to be a few weeks. So I know you said you might try to get it together, but they're all going, we'll sit 6 feet apart. We're fine, So I'm still, I'm not delivering meals anymore, but I am communicating and sending cards. And I know your staff's doing great with them. But I just,
thank you.
I'm going to try to reach out to each one, the seniors, to let them know what's going on. So
we'll be reaching out to each of those groups. We've got a painting group. We've got the seniors group. We've got a knitting group. Each of those groups essentially has a captain. We'll be reaching out to them individually to let them know where we are. And we'll give them as advanced notice as we can of when things will get back to normal for them. The issue we have is a lot of the guidelines that we got from the governor for facilities similar to ours were more based on fitness facilities versus gathering facilities. So right now we're having some issues in terms of, recreation community centers for craft rooms and formal programming and gathering. A lot of it right now has been just kind of, the details we've been given is based on fitness. We're starting to get more athletic stuff, but we've not gotten anything that's really, that informal fellowship type gathering. So we're really trying to hope to get that quickly so we can get those folks back in there, because we know how important those groups are to them and how important that social fellowship is to them. So we're working hard to get those folks back in the building.
Okay. Yeah. I'll reach out to them too. So between all of us, we should be able to communicate that to them.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if any of them have a question and they want to talk to one of us, we'll be happy to answer their calls. We have staff going to be on site tomorrow answering phone calls about the registration, the process. If they don't have a computer, we'll be helping them the whole entire way. So, and the only thing that we ask for is the patience. And if you guys have other ideas, we're very receptive to them. And as long as they meet the guidelines of Ohio Department of Health and Governor DeWine's office, we'll try anything. But I think you'll be pleased how well we put things together.
Mr. Irie had a question.
Michael, I just had a quick question about a general question about the use of the parks. I know you said baseball, softball practice was getting underway tonight, and it doesn't sound like there's any guidance on playground equipment or anything like that yet. What if somebody just generally wants to go walk in the park or meet with a group of people in the park? Are there any restrictions like that?
No, so there's not. We know that shelters are closed. We know that the playgrounds are closed, but some of the active activities are starting to come back, like baseball, softball, tennis. Playgrounds are particularly hard, I think, because of the surfaces and the proximity that the kids have when they're playing. But the passive activities, like walking trails, like being at the fossil park and looking at, the little stones and things like that. Some of those passive things about families going and having a picnic or, throwing a football. Those have never closed. And we relied on Hamilton County Public Health for some of those things. They have been able to take the information from Governor DeWine, and we worked with them to get determinations to see what could be open, what had to be closed. And we continue to work with them to see if we can find ways to get those playgrounds open. It breaks my heart every day when I go past Gower Tower and look at this beautiful facility and think, man, kids would have so much fun on that right now. But we're doing everything we can to try and get those open. Hopefully we'll see more information from the governor soon to allow us to open those, because I'm ready. I think everybody else is too. So.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Michael, I got one more question.
Sure.
As far as the membership renewal and extension of the people who currently have like a 2020 membership and they've not been able to use it, unless you put something out there and I've missed it. I know I've seen some questions on Facebook about, is it going to be extended, blah, 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 blah. I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if I missed it, if anything's been put out there yet regarding some of the people that had a new membership and hasn't been able to use it.
So we'll get that back out there again, but the decision at this point is that we are extending all memberships the same amount of time for which the closure takes place. So, and I don't consider what we are doing right now to be fully open. So when I say closure, it kind of means these draconian to some degree restrictions on capacity. So we will continue to get that message out. But as it stands right now, if you have a membership, your membership would have terminated after we closed, it's not going to terminate. It's going to continue for, we've been closed since, I'm just going to throw a date out there, say March 15th. We aren't opening again until probably middle of July at the earliest, a full opening. So everybody's going to have an extra 4 months at a minimum. We are still discussing whether or not there should be additional conditions put into place. But as it stands right now, that's the direction that I've given to our rec staff, and that's the communication we're giving to everybody, that as long as the closures and the significant restrictions upon attendance are in place, your membership will be extended for that much longer. So if you hadn't, if your membership was to close on, it would have terminated March 15th, it now doesn't terminate at all until all of this is done. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, we did share that in May 7th, those details as well.
Okay.
That's been out there.
Okay. Like I said, I could have missed it, so that's why I asked the question. I've seen it recently on Facebook. So thank you, gentlemen.
Michael, Carol, thank you guys both very much. Thank you for all the hard work. I know that there will be lots of questions. One piece that I want to talk about briefly on this issue is pool capacity. And that is, our pool, we've stated our capacity is 80. Some of you are going to hear from people that there are other neighboring pools that have greater capacities than ours. And part of the reason why ours is lower, and actually the big reason why ours is lower, is because of the makeup of our pool. A lot of the other facilities have big, huge spanses of water. There's no separations. We have basically 3 separate pools. And the smallest of that pool being the plunge pool, which would be your 8 to 11-year-old kids. That's kind of where they are most comfortable as far as being able to use. We feel like if we extend our capacity beyond that 80, we're going to cause a real problem in that plunge pool, which is going to cause a great deal of grief for our staff in order to deal with that, as well as our patrons. So, so we're starting with 80. If we can increase that, if things look good, we're going to continue to look at that. But to begin with, we're going to begin with 80. With how many? We have four different time periods during the day. 4. So that will allow 320 people to get through the door every day for a 2-hour period. It may not be the period they want always, but we think that will be sufficient to at least start based on what we're at. But in case you get that question that Evendale or Springdale or somebody else has higher numbers than us, even though their pools to some degree are actually smaller in surface area than ours by way of water. It's the makeup of our pools, which makes it a little more difficult for us to deal with these social distancing issues.
You could also remind them that Wyoming's not even opening this year. So there's pools that aren't even opening. So they should be very fortunate that we are taking the time and effort to plan this out.
That is correct. I think, for whatever it's worth, hopefully people will be appreciative of the fact that our team is trying to do the best that we can to make something work, as opposed to what some other communities have done. I do want to take a moment. Normally during about this time of year, we would be taking the opportunity to recognize a few of our Sharonville students who are just outstanding students, especially the top 20 of Princeton. We are always very well represented with the city of Sharonville, with young people at Princeton High School who have graduated in the top 20 of their class. This year is no different. We have 8 Sharonville students, so almost half of the top 20 of Princeton's graduating class are Sharonville students. So I want to just congratulate Blessing Fanigan, Caitlin Kerrigan, who was little Addie's big sister, who you met earlier tonight, Hannah Runyon, who's the daughter of one of our firefighters, Ashley Thomas, Nadia Say, Riley Hegg, Mia Corsega, and Nancy Bowman. So those are our 8 Sharonville residents who finished in the top 20 of their graduating class from Princeton High School this year. Congratulations to them. I believe Anna has some great, just like last year with our hometown guide that will be coming out here in the next couple of weeks. We'll also be doing some things to recognize those students and other accomplished students. So that is my report for this evening. Thank you, Michael and Carol, for taking care of all of it for me. Any questions that anybody has for me?
Does anyone have a question for the mayor? Seeing none, we're going to move on to our Safety Service Director, Mr. Lucas.
Thank you. To Sue's point, and Michael can correct me if I'm wrong, last survey I saw statewide was somewhere around 63% of city pools are not opening. So hopefully the public recognizes that, and kudos to Michael and his staff for going above and beyond with what they've done so far. From a legislation perspective, we have 3 items for you tonight. We're also asking for an executive session. The first item, however, is an appropriation. Scott McKeon's on Zoom tonight to talk about that.
Yeah, good evening. Ordinance 2017E. This kind of piggybacks on the ordinance we did back January 2020-04 that authorized the issuance of some 2020 refinancing bonds for the convention center expansion. The proceeds of these bonds will be used to pay off the outstanding principal on the 2010 bonds, along with pay the cost of issuance on the issuance we're getting ready to do. So this is in the 608 bond fund. Any questions about that? Thank you.
I don't see any.
Okay, the second item is consent legislation with ODOT regarding our Houck Road US 42 project. As council knows, ODOT decided to do some roadway improvements in conjunction with ours at Houck Road at the interstate ramps, as well as with their traffic signals. Because they're working in the city, however, they do need this legislation to proceed. Any questions about that?
I don't see any.
Okay, and then the last item this evening is our OKI application. OKI application deadline is June 5th, I believe. We are recommending a project on Kemper Road. Stephanie is here tonight to talk about the specifics of that.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if I need to share screen to go over this or if it's in your application, but I'll go ahead and share it just so you can see what I'm looking at. Oh, no, I don't think I can. So
you should be able to now if you.
Oh, okay.
You're a host.
All right. So just so you can see what we're looking at here, we're looking at an application to overlay Kemper Road in between Chester Road and Mostella Road. So you can see it's highlighted in blue here. So it basically is just a resurfacing project and replacement of curb as needed in spots where it's a little rough. We would also be replacing some existing sidewalks that are currently asphalt. We would put those back in as concrete sidewalks. And then we'd be adding a small extension shown in blue here to the sidewalk. And that'll just pick up a couple of Metro bus stops along the route here. We are not currently proposing to extend the sidewalk all the way just because there are some expensive obstacles in the way, such as crossing the railroad and Mill Creek. So, you know, both of those are kind of cost prohibitive. So we're just going to extend it for a little bit. So altogether, the total project cost on that was $1.36 million. And we're looking for a 70-30, so 70% federal funding, 30% local funding. So we'd be looking at a local match of, you know, $532,000 roughly. The rest of it would be federal funding. So any questions on that?
I don't see anyone with questions.
Okay.
I sent council some information from Stephanie on all of our ongoing projects throughout the city. So now would be a great time since she's here. If anybody has questions on any project, feel free to ask.
I don't see anybody trying to chime in.
I just want to, if I can, just want to thank you, Stephanie, for all the hard work that all of you do for us. But I do want to mention that one of the projects we have that is gearing up would be our bike path along Kemper Road from 42 up to Sharon Woods. And the reason I bring it up is I've received a couple of calls recently from folks that live on that street with questions about the project because, you know, bottom line, we are going to have to take some of the lands in right away, I think. So it's going to be taken just because we don't have to pay for it. I think there might be some pieces that are not within the right of way taken. So there are concerns about trees and other type of growths that will be gone because of this pathway. So I just want to make sure that you are all aware of that, that you may start getting calls and hearing from people as this project ramps up. It really is an important piece to a larger connecting path throughout the city of Sharonville. And it also is a huge piece of safety issue that exists to provide access to different areas of our community for folks that live along Kemper Road in order to get around our community. So hopefully you all continue to support the decision to go forward with that project. We have been blessed to receive some considerable funding to make it happen. But I expect that there will be some vocal opposition to that project moving forward, as you already heard with regard to our project up on Houck Road as well. So we are trying to keep everybody as informed as we can about what we're doing. And so this project shouldn't be new to anyone, especially folks that live along those routes. But because of the imminence of it and the conversations that are taking place, there are some opinions with regard to these projects that you might very well be hearing. So if you hear them, you're welcome to refer them to me, refer them to Jim, or, you know, if you feel comfortable in conversing please do. But those are the issues that we're dealing with, and that I'm sure some of you, if you haven't heard already, will probably hear from people.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. For my report tonight, I just want to remind everyone that June and July brings our summer meetings. So we will meet June 16th and July 21st, and those are our only meetings those months. So those are 2 meetings. June 16th and July 21 will be our only meetings. Mayor, we have not yet heard whether we're meeting in council or on Zoom yet. I'm assured that we'll be making decisions after we hold our first court in June.
Yeah, I think we can all safely bet that June meeting is going to be virtual again.
Okay.
Just because it'll be easier for us to do court than we will be council, just because of the way our council seats are set up. So let's plan on a virtual meeting in June in hopes that we can get back to council chambers for that meeting in July.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And that's all for mine. We'll move to our clerk of council, Mrs. Buhite.
Hi, thanks. Just wanted to mention that this is the time of year for the annual liquor permit renewal process, and there were no objections raised, so there was no hearing was requested. That's all.
Thank you. Auditor, Mr. Cunningham.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to make a note as we're talking about Houck and Kemper. There are 2 advances in April totaling about $475,000 to cover the reimbursable grant costs for those projects. That's notable there. In addition to talking about our budget, we're about a third of the way through the year, and from an expenditure perspective, we spent less than 23% in the general fund, and I can assure you that a lot of that is because of the environment that we were in. And I think Mr. Irie, when he talks next, he's going to tell us a little bit more about that. So that's my report, unless anybody else has any questions.
I don't see any questions, and we'll jump right in then to Mr. Irie, our treasurer.
Thank you. As you all probably saw on the information that was passed out by Mr. McKeon, that obviously the first sort of bad news that we're getting here, the lodging tax was down 14.74% in year-to-date in comparison with last year, and the income tax was down 10.22% year-to-date with last year. Obviously, we knew this was eventually going to catch up with us, and we were going to see some figures that had showed us what kind of pandemic or how the pandemic was affecting the city. I will say on the positive side that if you look at the treasurer's report and what we budgeted in terms of estimated revenue for almost each of the funds, from the general fund to the street fund to the fire fund to the income tax fund, we're all on all those funds we're better than 33 1/3% collected, which is more than on pace for the year. So that's good. I mean, we did a good conservative job of budgeting, and I guess we can take that as a positive note right now. So that's my report.
Are there any questions for Mr. Irie? I see none. We'll go to our law director, Mr. Pete Meyer.
Thank you. With reference to Mayor's Court next week, we only have 40 cases, which I'm surprised it's so low since we've been off so long. The plan is to have 10 citizens in the courtroom at once, and they're going to hold the rest either in the lobby or outside, bring them in groups of 10. I think the bigger problem is at Mayor's Court, the officials there sit up where council and the elected officials do for the council meetings, which is myself, the magistrate, the clerk of Mayor's Court, and a court officer. So there's only 4 of us sitting up where all of the elected officials do now. I think the bigger issue when we actually have council meetings is the spreading out of the elected officials, which I'm assuming we can accomplish by having some of us go out in the audience. But again, that is on for next week, and I'll report back how it goes.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And tonight we're happy to have our fire chief, Mr. Mousa. Chief Mousa, you're going to be giving your report.
Yes, I am. Good evening, everyone. Now, this will be my first time sharing the screen, so we'll see how this goes. Oh. It's not letting me share the screen yet, so I think Dean may have to.
Okay, you just were made a co-host, so you should be able to share now.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Here we are with the 2019 annual report for the fire department. 2019, all the way through the first part of this year, was just going splendidly, as you all know. One of the big things is the department personnel, we're running at better staff significantly than we were when I talked to you last year about this time. As you'll see, the difference between 2018 and 2019 actually is the fact that we actually have part-time people that are listed on this list again. Our staff has grown exponentially with part-time staff, which is the plan that we put in place that you approved back in 2018. And we started that, about June of last year in earnest. We did have 3 people retire since the last report. 2 of those last fall, Leo Rising in September and Tony Bell in the very beginning of October. Both of those had started with me in 2003, so they've been here over 16 years. Moved on to greener pastures. A long-standing face at the department, Kevin Willman, our senior fire inspector, left after joining the department in 1987. 32 years of service to the city of Sharonville and the businesses, and a wealth of inspection knowledge has gone out the door, and Keith Becker has taken his place and is doing a great job there. All is well on the inspection part. We have some new full-time people. Sean Loy, who we took from the city of Monroe, was an ex-part-timer, came back to work full-time for us. Perry Fisher is a firefighter EMT. This is his first job. Adam Miller, it's also his first full-time job in the fire service. And all 3 of those guys are, Sean is a paramedic now. The other 2 are, Adam Miller is done with paramedic school, and Perry Fisher is finishing it up now. So they soon will all 3 be paramedics and working here at the department. Our part-time program, again, last year we had a grand total of about 8 or 9 part-time people on the entire department. Now with the inception of the EMS only certification employees, as well as some increased interest in the firefighter or combination part-time people, our staff looks a lot different. Last year I had 1 firefighter paramedic that was part-time. This year I have 5, and I've got 6 firefighter EMTs. We've got 13 regular paramedics and 6 EMTs. Now 30 part-time employees compared to 8 or 9 that were active at this time last year. So I think that's success all the way around. Not only does it help with the coverage at the stations, but it is a significant, one of the big things we wanted to work on was the amount of overtime hours that our full-time people were being forced to work and had to work. And I'm pleased to announce that I think the program is a resounding success in that regard. Just between 2019 and 2020, we have year to date, we've dropped the overtime budget by 25%. If you take it back to the high water mark in 2018, when we really started all this in earnest, we've actually dropped it 39% in the same time period. So we went from spending $218,000 and change in the first 3 months of the year in 2018 to $135,000 this year. So that's a huge jump in the right direction. Run volume is also something that's gone ahead and increased between 2017 and 2019. EMS runs continue to increase at a steady pace of between 5 and 8% every year. You'll see a big jump in the number of fire calls that are listed on the screen between last year and this year. Now that looks like it increased by 21%. In reality, what we did was we changed the way we respond to EMS calls and with the fire trucks. So they are going on more EMS details than they were before, so they generate a report. So just between 2018 and 2019, we doubled the number of fire reports that are EMS related. So it looks like the actual run volume increased by that much, but it didn't really. What we did was we just send extra people to help out the medic units to help reduce on back injuries and reduce turnaround times, both on the scene and at the hospital. And that has worked significantly. It's been a very good program policy that we put in place, and we're planning on continuing that. So in reality, what we actually are looking at with run volume is we had 909 responses for the fire trucks that were actually EMS assist that were primarily medic calls. And with that, that puts us at about 12 calls a day. 8 of those are EMS, 4 of them are fire. And with that, it puts us up at about 3 or 4% for the year overall, if you do correct that for the change in policy. So some of the other things that we have is mutual aid outside of the city for fire calls. There's 228 of the 900 or the 1,300 and some that actually are fire calls. And we requested mutual aid from outside jurisdictions 135 times last year. So we have 3 fire stations, as you all know. 86 is our headquarters, 87 is downtown, and 88 is up by Copperfield off Field Earl. And there's a significant difference in the amount of call volume between each station. It goes from a high watermark of Station 86, where we do 1,823 calls a year, and those are calls that originate for that station, down to 1,008 calls per year at Station 88. So if you know, Station 88's fire calls are significantly slower than the rest of the department. Station 86 makes about 45% more calls than what Station 88 does in annual fashion. Activities across the department, just some numbers for what we spend on repair and maintenance. Hydrant programs, about $13,000 a year. Station maintenance is $45,000. And then equipment maintenance, we're looking at $98,776 just to maintain our trucks last year. We did 1,119 fire safety inspections, which is 97% of all the occupancies in the city. That is the reason it's not 100% is that, you know, some of the businesses are closed, but they still remain in occupancy in the software. And so you can't really inspect a closed business. Investigations, we continue to do those. 4 primary investigations in the city last year, significant fires. We did 132 smoke detectors and 45 battery replacements in homes. Training throughout the year is continually emphasized. They did 7,156 hours last year, averaging about 103 per member. We did a lot of leadership training last year, new fire officer classes, incident command. Suzanne Castile started her Ohio Fire Executive Program, which is a 2-year program. We had 2 people complete the Rescue Tech Program, which is a year's training in all things from rope rescue, trench rescue, water rescue, and machinery rescue. In-house training continues. That's a picture of the guys in Princeton Pool doing ice rescue training. Elevated rope rescue, we train on that because I'm sure some of you saw the event that they posted on Facebook the last week or 2, where we actually plucked somebody off the top of the building. One of the big things that we're doing differently that we just started is that Sharonville Fire Department is actually hosting a firefighter level 1 class for the first time ever. This was something the guys put together. It's headed by Chris Ellis. And the reason we decided to do that was because some of the EMS only people that we brought in for the part-time program, once they started working at the fire department, thought, you know what, this is kind of cool. Maybe we want to be firemen too. And so we had a level of interest to the point that it was worth us putting on our own class so that these guys could come in and then work for us in a dual certification fashion. An unintended benefit of luring those people in to work for Sharonville. This is a picture of the Fire Officer 1 class that was held in January, where we had 6 of our members attend. One of our ex-lieutenants, Jack Smith, actually is the head of the Ohio Fire Academy now, and this is their mobile search and rescue training lab that came down and sat for about a week to a week and a half, and the guys trained in it. doing search and rescue training. Suzanne Castile and Amy Nutley are very key instructors in a class where the fire service is focusing on minorities and people that you don't see in the fire service routinely, which is female. And they reach ages, like it says, for women from ages of 15 and up, and give them an idea of what it really means to be a firefighter and what it means to be a female firefighter. And that was the fire portions of that were hosted primarily by Scarlet Oaks. Once again, the guys did the Carew Tower climb. We had, I believe, the largest team in that Carew Tower climb, which is 45 floors or 804 steps. There's a picture of the guys having fun at Sharonfest. We did the 2019 Service Awards at the banquet, where Chris Crocker got Officer of the Year, Marcus Roos EMS Person of the Year, Chris Gilgas Firefighter, Captain Dan Sunderman got the Chiefs Leadership Award for the first time, and Ben Castile the Outstanding Service Award. The RAIN program continues to be a success in the city. We now have 2 mobile food pantries. The station food pantry is very busy. She spends a lot of time on the phone liaising with Hamilton County Health and with other agencies, getting the residents the help that they need. And I know the seniors enjoy seeing her, and she enjoys helping out the city and the residents. Our big project that's going on right now, as you know, is the Station 87 renovation, built in 1969. It was never meant to have people living in it. And by the time it's done, it is really going to be, I believe, one of the showpieces in the city. It's on target and on track to be completed in late August. And so far, it looks very much on budget. So that's a great thing as far as I'm concerned. So that's all I have tonight. If anybody has any questions.
Are there any questions? There. I don't see anything. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
I'm going to jump over here real quick. There are 2 people in our chat room. I'm not sure. Do either one of the residents, would you like to be heard this evening? Mr. Fry, did you want to be heard this evening?
Vicki, I believe Jerry wants to talk. I know.
Okay, he's got to I just need him to unmute. Jerry, you got this. You can talk now. Can you hear us? I'm going to bring him over as a panelist. Jerry, I need you to unmute your mic.
Is Josh able to override him?
I'm trying, and he keeps muting it. So I'm going to move on, Jerry. If you unmute, then we can talk with you. I've made you a panelist, so we'll be able to see that. We're going to move on. Council committees, community development, Mr. Tankersley.
I have no report. I
Okay.
just want to thank everybody for joining in on the meeting that we had last week regarding the street projects.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Community service, Mr. Lippard.
Thanks. We're going to meet on June 3rd at 4 o'clock. It'll be a Zoom meeting.
Okay, thank you. Budget and finance, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. No report this evening.
Perfect. Mrs. Knight, honored citizens?
No report, but again, I'd like to thank all the Memorial Day essay participants and winners. We should honor them because they sure honored our servicemen. Thank you.
They really, truly did. It was a wonderful job. And our law and public safety, Mr. Schmidt.
Yes, thank you. Because we only have the one meeting in June, the next Law and Public Safety Committee meeting will be on the 9th, 4 o'clock, be a virtual meeting. Additional details can be found on the city's website. Thank you.
Thank you. Rule suspension. If everyone could unmic or unmute right now, all of the voting members, go ahead and unmute. Thank you. Rule suspension for first and only reading of ordinance 2020-17E and 2020-18E and resolution 2020-R10E. Is there a motion
So
to
moved.
suspend the rules? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Cook. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. And Ms. Buhite, that does pass. We have no unfinished business, so we'll get right into our new business, Ms. Buhite.
All right. First and only reading of ordinance 2020-17E, amending the 2020 appropriations for the 608 fund.
Is there a motion to pass 2020-17E? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mrs. Knight. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Tankersley,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Lippert,
Yes.
Mr. Duda,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mrs. Knight,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
2020-17E has been approved. First and only reading of emergency ordinance 2020-18E, ordinance authorizing preliminary legislation participatory as required by ODOT for Sharonville to participate in the Hawk Road US 42 I-275 interchange lane usage project.
Is there a motion to pass ordinance 2020-18E? So moved by Mr. Lippert, second by Mr. Schmidt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Lippert,
Yes.
Mr. Duda,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mrs. Knight,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
2020-18E has been approved. First and only reading of resolution 2020-R10E, authorizing the safety service director to prepare and submit a funding application to the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council of Governments for improvements to Kemper Road between Chester Road and Mostel Road and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion to pass resolution 2020-R10E? So moved by Mr. Lippert, second by Mr. Cook. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Lippert,
Yes.
Mr. Duda,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mrs. Knight,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
Resolution 2020-R10E has been approved.
Thank you. I was trying to get Mr. Fry unmuted one last time. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do that. So if you could reach out to us, Mr. Fry, on your concerns, we would appreciate it. I have been asked to go into executive session. You should have received an email about that from Josh this afternoon. So I need a motion to go into executive session regarding the Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G1 regarding employment. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Tankersley and second by Mr. Wilson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Tankersley,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Lippert, Mr. Lippert.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Mr. Duda,
Yeah.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mrs. Knight,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
All right.
And I believe the mayor and Josh have sent out the invitations on who is to leave this meeting. And we're going into another Zoom meeting, and we will resume this meeting for adjournment only, I believe. Thank you. Council, please go ahead and leave.
I did not receive the email.
Okay, I will get that for you.
Okay, thank you. Why am I being left off the list?
Mr. Fry, can you hear me? Mr. Fry, can you hear me?
Sorry about that. I'm Vicky.
Hey, Vicky, he's still in participants too. If you want to try,
I've tried. Yeah, I'm going back and forth to both, and I can't get him.
it says he's unmuted now. Mr. Fry, can you hear us?
Mr. Fry, can you hear us? Tank, do you have his text or anything that you can send him?
No, I don't have a
Okay.
number for him.
Okay.
Well, look on my screen, it's showing that he's muted.
Well, he's unmuted and on one and muted on the other. So I don't know. Mr. Fry? I mean, he's got his hand up like he wants
Yeah.
to participate, and it says unmuted. So I don't know why we can't hear him.
Wonder if he has a microphone on his, he might not have a microphone on
Oh,
his computer or something.
That could be. I apologize, Mr. Fry. We're unable to hear you. Is there any other business to come before council?
Vicki, did we come out of executive session and I didn't hear it?
No, we're going to do that
Sorry.
right now. Is there a motion to come out of executive session? So moved by Mr. Lippert, second by Mr. Wilson. Roll call.
Mr. Tankersley,
yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Lippert,
Yes.
Mr. Duda,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mrs. Knight,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
Okay, still no Mr. Fry. Anything else to come before council? Seeing nothing, is there a motion for adjournment? So moved by Mr. Lippert, second by Mr. Wilson. All those in favor, yes.
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 Those opposed, no. And we do stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Good night.